Well, hello everyone. Yesterday I was out in the woods doing some woodland photography, and it was a pretty good experience overall. Quite a bit of a hike because it's quite a hilly woodland, so a lot of up and down sort of thing. But I found some little scenes that actually worked quite well, I think, and also some that didn't quite work. So in this video I'm going to show you some of the good bits and some of the bad bits. Sometimes it doesn't always go to plan, but at the end of the day, even if all of the pictures don't work out, the end result is that we have learned something. And if anything, I had a walk through the woods. So that's what this video is about. Hope you enjoy. Take care.
So close your eyes and see me go old. Feel the chase a breeze, hold. Your eyes up to the trees. Have you ever seen the sun jumping into a stream? It's really something to see.
Well, hello everyone. As you can see, a little trip today to the woods, or woodland photography. I watched the video today of a very nice gentleman from the north of England, Henry. I hope you forgive me for mentioning your name. But you illustrated a good point that you had learned recently in another video, that if you want to take good woodland photography, you want to find a good location, a pretty looking wood, because you don't expect to take wonderful photographs if the woods you're looking at look pretty poor. As you can see here, this wood that I'm in may be pleasing to some, but may not be pleasing to others. But to me, it's a mix. There are good areas and there are bad areas. I think that's indicative of most woodland areas. So this forest that I'm in just now, in Canada, in Alberta, is somewhat overgrown. There's a nice little sort of goat trail here that goes through, and it's a very nice walk. You'll see a lot of wildlife in here. Grouse, and just a minute ago, if I had the right lens on, I would have caught a little red squirrel that was scooting around on the ground here. As soon as he realized that I was here, he scooted off pretty quick. But, you know, in a dense wood like this, it's often hard to find something to photograph because everything you see around you is too close, too intimate, and you kind of get overwhelmed by what you're looking at. So what I'm doing here just now, what I've found, and I've just knocked that little bit over, but never mind, is this little patch here that you see is autumnal colors are starting to come in the undergrowth here. It's not quite cold enough yet here to set the leaves on the main canopy going, but it's not going to be long, a couple more weeks, and we should start seeing some decent colour. And then with the sunset, sunrise, those will really pop. But in the meantime, we're just getting the lower ground stuff starting to colour up here. And every now and again, you can see little red berries, some of the last bits of fruit that are still going on as we head rapidly towards fall here. So what I'm doing here is I'm isolating a scene in the shot. And this is one of the things I've learned in woodland photography. That sometimes it's very hard to find the scene you want, because when you look or you go for a walk through the woods and you think, I've got to come back with my camera and I've got to try and do that justice. What you don't realize subconsciously what you're doing as you walk along, your mind is taking a photograph because you're kind of tuned that way. And then you'll walk on a few more feet and it'll take another photograph, and then it'll take another one. And then when you get to the end of the walk, your mind seems to stitch all those shots together and gives you a general good feeling about the walk you've just had. The problem is, when you go back with your camera, you don't see the same perception that you have in your mind of the walk, because that's an amalgam of everything you saw through the journey. So what you have to do then, in my mind anyway, is to stop. When you look at a scene, you'll find that most of it is very samey. It's either all trees, all twigs, all branches, all leaves. But then there's something that's quite different that pops out. And here, for us, right now, it's the undergrowth colours changing. And that's all I'm interested in here right now. To give it some kind of foresty flavour, I've included this large tree here at the side, but only a bottom section of it. We don't need the whole thing in there. Today's lighting is very flat. There's not much up there at all. There's no sun rays coming through, which would be nice. That would really pop these colours. But that's not happening today, so we have to deal with what we're given. And we're also given the mandatory count of mosquitoes as well. Several bites already into this little trip, and I've barely started. So this is the scene that we're going to get here right now. So I've taken 3 shots, the mandatory correct exposure that the camera picks up, 1 overexposed and 1 slightly underexposed. Just 1 stop up, 1 stop down, which is going to increase the dynamic range of the composite picture that I'll stitch together, which hopefully, if I've done things right, you will see in a few minutes. Or a few seconds if I stop waffling and show you the damn picture. We're out here again with the mandatory Pentax DSLR. This is a APS-C crop sensor camera, available for about $700–800. They're reasonably cheap at that price range, and they're very flexible. There's many features built into cameras like this nowadays that will give you really good images. And as long as you know what to do with the camera, you will achieve some really stunning results. But remember, you won't know what it can do unless you start practicing. And all this is just a little walk. I've done this walk many times, and I'm out here just having a look around, see if there's things starting to change, getting ready for probably some serious sided pictures in a couple of weeks' time, when I actually start to see some fall colours come through. So I actually just see now, with a little bit of sun coming through, there's a lovely silver birch here just up on the bank here that's being backlit, and that looks quite nice. So I might actually flip the camera around and take a shot of that. This one is not in landscape mode at the moment. This one's straight up and down in your portrait mode, so it gets as much as the foreground as I can and off into the twigs in there, but mainly it's all about the canopy, the floor of the forest and the colours that we're getting. As you can see here, there's a little pop of colour there now. So we just, yeah, we're still in there. The sun is just starting to peek in there. I'm using the 35mm lens, which is kind of close to a standard 55mm in a full frame camera, if you want to be a technical junkie about these things. So it's not an ultra wide picture, because quite frankly, if I put my big Rokinon lens on, the 10mm, I'd be taking in a huge chunk of this woods that are up here, and they're, quite frankly, look at them, they're just sticks. They're all mashed into each other. There's no dramatic lighting there. There's not even a bit of mist or anything that could make them sort of look quite good. So there's no point. So you've got to look at the image through the camera and see what you want to see. And by using either a prime lens, in this case a 35mm, which gives me a really good sharp lens, or you could use your standard kit lens, a 17 to 55 or 60, and you could zoom in and frame and crop the image just the way you want it. And that's all you need to do. There's nothing fantastic. Like I said, $700–800 camera with a standard lens on it, it would do this justice, no doubt about it. So, enough chit chat, more photography, and let's have a look at this image and see if I got what I was trying to explain. Fingers crossed, eh? Here's another little scene that we can see here. The path goes down this quite steep bit of embankment, and the view kind of leads us to these trees in the foreground here, in the background here. But in the foreground we've got a nice tree there, and there's a little chirping squirrel there, and a nice tree here which should kind of frame the whole thing for me. So I don't think the 35mm is going to be wide enough to do this shot, but I'm going to try anyway. If not, I can always go to the standard kit zoom. I don't think I need to go to the big wide zoom lens here. But interesting shot. There's an awful lot of depth between the foreground here and the background away down in the this area here. So a little bit tricky for focus. But yeah, let's give it a go. Again, here we are. We've got a bit of a drop off in the back, and then it comes back up again, and it goes to the right of that big tree there with the silver birch right next to it. So there's the sun decided to come out. The sky is pretty much blue overhead, so lighting seems to have popped. I wish I'd had this lighting a little bit earlier in the undergrowth shot, but you know, you get what you get. So this is the shot here. I'm going to set this one up. Not entirely sure yet which lens I'll use on here. I think I'll use the kit lens and see what happens with that. But there you go, that's what this shot is. I like this silver birch, the way it's lit up by the sun here. Really, really nice. Foliage is very green. There's not an awful lot going on there. Compositionally wise, it's not a fantastic shot. But, you know, it's learning day. We're doing what we can with what we've got. And this is the shot we're going to have a go at now. Okay. Okay, you can see this shot here. This is on a very steep bank. I quite like the way the trees kind of fallen or half fallen across the scene. But more importantly, we've got an upright here and an upright here, which kind of frames the whole thing. We've got a nice little pile of logs going on down here, and there's a couple of old mossy ones down there. And then we've got the whole path that leads us down into the shot before going across and out of shot. So that was what I was shooting for this time. Let's see what this one looks like. And then down now at the bottom of the hill, we were just looking at the framed shot. Now we're at the bottom, and this is that logs that we saw in the other shot but at a distance. This looks like quite a good little composition. I like the way the sun is coming through there too. Just a little dappled light. Yeah, quite like this one. So we'll see how this one turns out. And then I just swung the camera around after this. You can see these leaves up here all beautifully backlit. I've had to overexpose to try and light this tree up here. And then I've done a composite underexposure one because this tree here will be very much overexposed and be lost in the highlights. Also the sky up here, nothing really interesting there, but it'll be overexposed too, so I've had to underexpose, and we'll try and blend them and sort them in the old editing suites. And I just kind of like the way the path here is just taking us up there, and it maintains this openness in the center here. And again, we're using two trees to kind of frame this thing. I may crop this image in a little bit on this side, and let's see if we can do it a little bit on this side. That may look a little bit better like that. But there we go. We'll try that later. Relatively simple shot, this one. Shooting up the river here towards that rock face and cliff. Taking in the rapids, the way the river curves around to the right there. Looks quite nice, nice composition. I've also got that little rock in the water in front of the camera. That's got to be part of the shot, so I've had to focus stack this image. One focused on there, one on the mid-ground where the rapids are, and then another shot on the cliff face. So hopefully they blend together quite nicely. The problem I'm going to have with that is that the water will be moving, will be somewhat blurred. Not necessarily the right thing for this environment of a shot. Probably would be better if it was still and just glistening with the sun sparkling off of it. But you do what you can do. I could do a bit of trickery. And we'll see how things turn out. There we go, that's this shot. And I've just turned the camera around a wee bit, and I'll do another shot looking downstream. Not quite as good, but well, while I'm here, let's go.
So close your eyes and see me go old. Feel the change of breeze, hold gold. Your eyes up to the trees. Have you ever seen the sun jumping into a stream? It's really something to see.